everyone, welcome to Jelly Bear Studios. In today's video, we're gonna talk about the top 5 worst N64 games. That's analyzed by our studio through years of video game playing and community research. If you missed the number 10 through 6 on the list, click on the video right here. And by the way, if you appreciate and enjoy the work we're doing here, really appreciate, you can like and subscribe the video. So now let's get started. Number 5 on the list is Batman Beyond: The Return of the Joker. In this game, the Joker comes back and you know what? No one cares about the story. You would think the game would be great if it followed the basic formula of the Ninja Turtle on the Super Nintendo, but just lacks anything that would make it fun. The art style in the cutscene is alright, but then the gameplay has some simply horrifying animation. Even Batman's running looks janky like this. And the music just keeps on looping endlessly on and on and on. Don't even get me started on the AI. The enemies are brain dead and for the most part super easy to kill, like just kick them a few times before they can even attack. Sometimes they'll just sit there and watch you attack their friends before they even bother to move, like this. You can select different suit style that will favor offense, defense, or speed, but most of these choices just suck. I'm not even sure why you would even need to punch, given how low damage it does. Just turn on the nimble suit and kick as fast as Bruce Lee. Look at how bad these physics are. If an enemy dies, they just block your path, and I literally landed on top of an enemy before too, and can just stand there. If you want a good Batman game, look at the Super Nintendo or Arkham series. Next up, as number 4 on the list, is Daikatana. It is a first-person shooter by the legendary designer John Romero, who worked on Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Quake, and a bunch of other groundbreaking shooters. Daikatana is set across 4 different time periods: 25th century Japan, ancient Greece, medieval Norway, and the near-future Alcatraz. When you start the game, you'll be greeted by a cutscene that's over 10 minutes long about a mystery sword called the Daikatana. The text scrolls past painfully slow and the camera changes angles every 5 seconds, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. See? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Luckily, you can skip this. The game falls apart quickly as the levels are sparsely populated with enemies, where it's unusual for you to see even 2 at a time. There are also traps everywhere throughout the level and there's no predicting where they can be. Much of the game is dark too, so you can hardly see anything a lot of times. Just like the experience the first night streaming the HBO show Game of Thrones episode where they defeated the Night King. Remember that? Alright, let's come back to talking the game. Each of the time periods has its own unique weapons, which sounds great, but when you go to the new time period, all the existing weapons are now useless, and what makes it worse? They remain in your inventory, so you have to scroll past them. By the way, the game doesn't pause when you switch weapons. As you use the weapons, your character will get better at them and do more damages, which is a really cool idea at the time. It's just a shame the rest of the game is horrible. Another thing to point out is it lacks basic sound effects like anime footsteps, like this. Fog is also a serious problem, especially in open areas, where it makes fighting enemies harder than it should be. Multiplayer has simple 4-player deathmatch and gem collecting mode, but mostly feels like an afterthought. Now it's getting to the more intense territory. Earning the bronze trophy of the terribleness, we have Carmageddon. This originally came out of the PC game and where you run over people and attack other cars. People praise the damage model to the cars and how people would come apart when hit by cars. The sequel, Carmageddon 2 Apocalypse, was similarly well received on PC, and the N64 version is based on this. Well, immediately you can tell the version is worse. The vehicle model looks terrible, textures are blurry, and the game runs as fast as a slideshow. It is also amazingly hard to even control the cars. The handling is awful, you hardly touch the joysticks, and the car widely goes out of control. It is seriously challenging to just pick up a power-up without coming to a full stop. And the physics are totally inconsistent. Sometimes we'll bump into a car and it will just go flying. In order to win race, you need to do one of the 3 things. The first is just go through all the checkpoints in order. Though this sounds easy, but the game is actually super unforgiving when it comes to detecting if you went through the checkpoints. If you missed one, you need to just drive around until you find it, as the blue icon on the minimap is nearly useless, like this. This isn't even a race. It doesn't matter what the other cars are doing as long as you go through the checkpoints before the times runs out. Another way to win the game is to destroy all the enemy cars. This is by far the easiest since they don't or maybe can't attack you and they are totally brain dead. The final way to beat the game is to kill all the zombies, and oh boy, good luck with that. It's hard enough to hit them on purpose, and there are just so many of them. You know how sometimes a movie is so bad, it's pretty entertaining? Well, that doesn't happen with Carmageddon. At least the German version had the dinosaurs instead of zombies. Next up, taking the second place for the worst N64 game is Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue. This game came out in 2000 and is one of the easiest games on the system. There are 30 levels which have one of the 4 types. The first is to shoot something or collect stuff. Your ranger runs around the city and shoots the enemies. Or maybe there are zombies. Or guess what, that's not important. You can usually just leave them alone anywhere since they're so slow and stupid. The brain-dead anime AI that makes Gauntlet Legends AI look good since at least those enemies can hurt a player. It doesn't even make sense that you shoot energy beams at enemies. I thought Power Rangers was supposed to use Kung Fu and fight in a team, right? The character animation is awful too. Look at this guy running with his arms up. The same song repeats the entire time and there's only a handful of audio clips. You know, by the way, I noticed that it's a consistent thing that bad games often do very poorly on in-game music. Often just keep playing one song on and on again. Coming back to the game, the next type of the stage is one where you need to put out burning cars or clean toxic waste. If you're on the wrong side of the road, you probably can't make it there in time to put out a fire, but that's okay since it gives you so much time you will just try for the next one. There's really no point in trying to avoid civilian cars since there's so much health everywhere. The next type of the stage is flying level where you do things like collect boxes or pick up players. The city has barely any details and yet you can't even see one city block before the fog creeps in. The last type stage is when you are in a giant Megazord. You need to defeat an enemy by either shooting it or punching it, but punching is absolutely useless. When you get close to the enemies, you automatically switch from a first-person view to a third-person view, which is really jarring. This mode is also available in multiplayer if you want to duke it out with your friends, but let's be honest, they probably don't want to be your friends anymore after a few rounds. Mercifully, this game is super short and can be beaten in under 2 hours by even the most novice players. This game is definitely not yay. Yay! Alright, finally, the worst game on this list by actually a hefty margin, and that is, drumroll please, Superman! Once again, another terrible game by Titus, you guessed it. You'd think that with a license this popular, the publishers would want to make it super great, but nope. It's just so bad. Part of the problem came from the constraints Warner Brothers added, like no people could get hurt. That's why it takes place in virtual reality. One of the biggest things people complain about is flying through the rings. As soon as the game starts, it has you fly through about 1 million rings. And if you miss just a few, you need to start all over again. Most people who tried it haven't even been able to pass the first level because how awkward Superman flies, like this. And when you finally do get through, you have these super short missions you need to complete, like pick up cars and throw them in 10 seconds. And you don't even get any practice since as soon as you lose, you'll go right back to those rings. If you do manage to make it to a real level, congratulations, it's truly a feat of its own. You're plagued by how hard it is to hit something once you get to on the ground. It's no wonder I'd have trouble hitting someone if I punched like this too. And the boss fight are laughably easy. So much easier than the rings. Just punch them a few times and it's over. It's true. I also saw Superman could only be hurt by kryptonite. Why does this hurt him? Once you get past the first real level, it's back to the rings, but this time they move. And the game looks so bad, it's just unacceptably how close the fog is, especially when flying. The funny thing is that multiplayer is a lot better than single player. Don't get me wrong, it's not good, but it's at least worth a few minutes of your time. There are two modes, fight and race mode. In fight mode, you fly around in these flying cars and shoot each other. And that's really it. In race mode, one player drops floating rings when they fly around and the other players need to fly through them so they can beat a ring barrier. The winner is the one who spent the most time dropping rings. It's funny because if you do crazy spirals, it's basically impossible to go through them. There's also no Superman in the multiplayer at all. I know, but that's probably for the best. It's amazing and funny to think this game actually sold over 500,000 copies. Wow. Sorry about those people that bought them. Woohoo! I don't know about you, but after talking about all these crappy games, I need a break. Please tune in next time when we talk about the fitness games. And as always, I appreciate all your support by liking and subscribe the video. I'm your host, Little Bear. Until next time, signing off.